you scared of Whips when you first met her?
Yes, I was very scared of Coach Willow Whips. And I think about 80% of the league is scared of Willow Whips.
Yes, she can be scary at times.
She's just, she's a lot in a really small body.
Are people scared of me?
As head coach, yes.
Why are people scared of me?
You did not know this. I thought you did know this.
I had no idea that people thought I was scary. That's hilarious. I'm like 4'11" and 92 pounds. I have been a part of a lot of different leagues because for 7 years I was working as an English second language teacher. So I think I've been a part of 9 different leagues at this point. COVID kind of shut down all roller derby teams everywhere. And it was just starting back up when I moved to Vancouver. So we got here and Greater Vancouver and Terminal City were in the midst of like a merger trial. And I kind of tagged along a few times to that and didn't really vibe with what was going on. Like the attendance was pretty low and like that's no one's fault, it was rebuild time. But if I was gonna play derby, I wanted to be playing games and I wanted to be practicing pretty intensely. I'm very into being very good at things. Maybe like a year later when I could see Terminal City still had their practice space and everything like that, I was like, okay, let's go. I pitched a rebuild. The former board of TCRD, the board at the time, we were heavily going to be focusing on recruitment, like a lot of advertising and marketing. So Terminal City had kind of been relying on its reputation for a really long time, and that just wasn't working anymore. So we really had to focus on building up that social media presence. So we set up a TikTok account, we set up making tutorial videos that we're posting on TikTok and Instagram for like derby moves to try and build up this presence of Terminal City again and show that Terminal City still exists. And that was a huge part of the rebuild.
So just really like getting back on the socials, just getting back in front of eyes, telling people we're here and we want to do this again. But like on a massive scale, like really posting every day about it to make it happen.
There were several moments where I thought that the league was going to be fine as we were rebuilding. And some of those were false starts. There would be renewed interest, we would get some new members, but then we would have a hard time sustaining new membership, especially with the low number of participants.
Because it was really hard for the first, I would say 6 months of rebuilding because I was doing so much within the team. Like I was doing all the social media, I was doing all the coaching, I was doing fundraising, I was doing basically everything for 6 months.
The turning point for the league when I knew everything was going to be okay was your rookie class when you came in. It was a large group, and not only was it a large group, but it was a group that was very keen. And it was clear, maybe only 2 or 3 weeks in, that a large number of those folks were going to stay.
So I started with TCRD in September 2023.
So I joined in September of 2023, so just over a year ago.
I first joined Terminal City in September 2023.
I'm pretty sure I joined a September program, probably like 2023.
I joined Terminal City Roller Derby, or TCRD, September 2023.
It really felt immediately like we were part of the league, and that was probably because it was rather small when we showed up. But then, again, with hindsight, I can see now that, okay, yeah, it was like, there was barely a league when we had started.
We got pretty lucky, and I'm gonna thank Rolla for that, because we got like a huge influx of skaters in September who already knew how to skate.
Oh, would Terminal City Roller Derby exist without Roller Skate Club now? Yes, I do think so, but not to the frame, like not to the extent that it is. Like I think it would probably still be really tiny. It would just be sort of a shell of what it is.
So Roller Skate Club is, we are 6 years old now. We have a full-time physical location in Vancouver. There's, 500 plus members that come and skate with us.
It's a facility where you can go and you can learn how to roller skate, and they have sort of 3 distinct disciplines. They have skate park, they have short track roller derby, and they have dance. So short track is a more accessible recreational type of roller derby that was invented by Lulu Demon and Booty Quake, who now goes by Business Time. They're actually the founders of Roller Skate Club, and they also are former TCRD skaters.
So short track is a version of flat track roller derby, but there's a few different things that are different about it. The size of the track is smaller. So originally when the WFTDA flat track was created, they took the bank track and they just went and they flattened it. In order to play or practice on that size of track, you need a huge area. And so what we did was like, let's take a space that most people have access to in their communities. We're taking a basketball court. We want our track to fit in that size space. Number 2, track is smaller now, so we need to reduce the amount of people to make the game playable. One of the things that leagues were really struggling with at that time in 2018 was finding enough players. So we reduced the amount of skaters that were needed. And then the next thing that was really hard with roller derby was officiating. So there's often this joke that roller derby is the only sport in the world where there are 3 teams playing at the same time. The 2 on the track and then the 3rd one in the stripes, because you need about 14 officials to run a game. So we cut that down to 2 on-skating officials with 1 scorekeeper.
New people coming in to flat track, I almost wish I could take their hand and be like, you should learn short track first. I definitely feel, I don't think I would have latched on to flat track the way I did if I didn't know short track first. I feel like it's the baby steps you need to get to flat track.
There was a blissful period of about 6 months after we all joined, which a league member referred to as the golden era of Terminal City. Everyone was getting along, we were having a ton of fun playing casual games and tournaments, and we all were playing a key role in the league flourishing. It was so rewarding. At the time, I had no idea how much I would miss this era later on.
Derby drama. Well, so it's when you get a whole bunch of people all together with a bunch of different opinions, and also they're playing a sport where they're allowed to hit each other, I think feelings get very big. Feelings get bigger maybe than they would if you took a breath or if you weren't hitting each other 20 minutes ago. So it is just personal drama, really.
I think the most challenging part of rebuilding, and I think this is true of just leagues in general, is that boom of people will always create some conflict.
I think for this year, the number of issues that we've had to deal with is high, but they're not uncommon types of issues that have come up. It's pretty common when there's a period of rapid growth to have different opinions as to which direction the league should take.
Type A personalities tend to come to roller derby. And those types of personalities, if you don't feel heard, you will explode.
The biggest tensions, in my opinion, is the concept of where we are going as a league in terms of competitiveness and recreational. That is the big divide between the skaters and who wants to show up and what they're showing up for.
I'd say there's a few people who are holding on in a way because it means something to them, and so they need it to be the thing they want it to be. It's like, well, this is the idea that I have of Terminal City, and it needs to be what I think it is. And this is what it was when I came here and I've been part of this, or this is what it was when I dreamed of being on the team, and it needs to be this.
That there is a split between folks who want to show up and they want to skate and they want to do games, but they don't want to be bombarded with the responsibilities, and they don't want this to take over their whole life, which is a very fair thing. People have other hobbies, they have families, they have other things in their lives, and they don't need to feel guilty that this is something that they can't do and be part of constantly.
There is something to be said about something that tries to grow too quickly. If you don't build the foundation, you spread your resources too thin, and then people start burning out.
It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly when things started changing in our league, but our seeding game was probably the catalyst for us becoming a more competitive league overall.
So a seeding game is a game that you play to get your initial ranking on the WFTDA ranking charts. So prior to COVID, Terminal City was a very highly ranked team, but when COVID happened, we dropped off the rankings, all the teams did. When they reset the rankings post-COVID, we were given a bit of leeway, and they were like, you don't have to rejoin the rankings right now. You can wait up to 2 years before you have to rejoin, but if you wait longer than that, you have to reapply. And the application process is not a fun time. Like, it's huge. It takes months to get all of the things you need together. It's like applying for permanent residency, frankly.
I've been a member of Terminal City for 18 years, so for me, I would say there were times where I was putting in a full-time job's worth of hours every week. Absolutely, 40 hours a week. The busiest time for me was actually, I think, when Terminal City joined the WFTDA, because that was the hardest thing that we ever had to do. I think it was some of the most important work that I ever did for Terminal City, because we never would have been in the top 20 rankings. We never would have been able to compete if that stuff hadn't been done. I mean, we wouldn't be in the WFTDA right now if I didn't do that whenever I did it, 2010 or whatever.
It was Dockyard Roller Derby that did our seeding game. And yeah, it was super great because it got us ranked. And yeah, it was also a really, really tough game.
We went into that game knowing that this team was probably gonna crush us.
We played Dockyard because they were the closest league that was willing to do our seeding game, but we also knew that they were going to annihilate us. But it was just the only choice we had.
We had played a game the day before, so I was pretty exhausted already. And I think that was my first time playing 2 games back to back like that. And also the venue was really, really, really hot.
And also it was probably the most physically difficult thing I have had to do, for sure in the last 12 months, but maybe also in the last 10 years. The venue we were playing in was literally so hot. Like, Trauma, who was our bench coach at the time, was dabbing like ice water on all of our chests and our heads in between jams because we were suffering so much, and the other team was hitting us extremely hard.
I remember being on the track, and there was this one player who just kept kept hitting me out like over and over and over again, and I wasn't a jammer or anything, and she just kept hitting me out, and I was like, oh my god, I was so exhausted. I kept having to come back in, and then like the 6th time she did it, she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, you're doing so great, and I was like, oh, thank you, and then she hit me out again like immediately.
I cried after our first sanctioned game. It was, now it's coming back. It was a hugely emotional experience for me, and I wasn't crying because we lost. I was crying because in my eyes we succeeded. So it's this constant physical and mental game of continuing to push yourself. And when you get to the end of that and you get to see the results of having pushed yourself as much as you could, then it doesn't really matter what the result is. If you felt like you were giving your most that you could at that time, it is an emotional experience, because that's what you're putting into the game is emotional effort. It's not just physical effort.
The seeding game for me was not a happy time. I hated that we had to do it because I felt we weren't ready, and we had people on the track who I was concerned about being on the track at that level of game, and it was very stressful because it was only like my second or third time bench coaching, and I felt a lot of pressure, and I was still injured, so like running around and trying to like not understanding all the things that I needed to do and trying to figure that out on the fly was tough. And like everybody was so hot and kind of dying, and like I pulled out some things that I kind of learned from boxing and MMA and a few other things as far as like ice packs and keeping everybody cool and trying to like make sure everybody stayed calm, but internally I was stressing out hard. And for me, as much as it was great that we did a seeding game, like everybody says like, yeah, we did it, we finished it, like we were not prepared. It was so tough, and watching everybody get hit so hard, it was also really crushing for me because I had just injured myself like 3 weeks before to like come out there and like watch this all happen, and just the feeling in my head of like guilt, and then watching everybody get crushed was awful. It was absolutely awful.
So I believe we ended up on the chart around 80 out of like 90 teams for North America West.
And I think the current goal is we're just gonna try and slowly edge our way up these rankings. We're not aiming to be a top 10 team, but it would be nice if at the end of next year, we've gone from 78th to 74th, just to show that we're making progress.
Now that we're on the WFTDA rankings again, there's more of a drive for us to improve because we can play ranked games, which means we can go up or down the rankings. But what does that actually mean for the skaters in our league?
Yes, if the league is becoming competitive, it is very much taking over your life in terms of hours.
So TCRD is a nonprofit, and we are completely volunteer run. So nobody's paid to do anything. And so there's also kind of this push once you join a roller derby league that you also need to make it kind of your whole life.
And so I just feel like you finish practice and you're like, it doesn't ever really end necessarily. My husband is 100% a derby widow. He has so much free weekends now, and I think he's just doesn't actually even know what to do with it.
A derby widow is your actual partner who you have now left at home forever. They are dead to you because now you play roller derby.
Yeah, I went through that whole...
It's a real thing. It can cause some actual drama in relationships. Legit, yeah.
You know, I'll admit, I'm like very obsessive about roller derby, and when I joined TCRD, I became the committee head of like marketing and PR, and I was a co-head of sponsorship, and then I became a board member, and then I also pitched to produce this documentary series, all within the span of like 3 or 4 months of joining.
If you ask anyone who knows me that does not do roller derby, I probably talk about roller derby too often. It definitely became an all-consuming part of my life.
I think the competitive skaters often are the ones who want to put in the most time, and so I think therefore they end up in positions of authority in the leagues. And so I think the decisions that leagues make skew towards the more competitive folks because those are the ones making the decisions.
Basically, when a league starts investing in their competitive team, the non-competitive players tend to leave because they're not invested in. I do find that a lot of our skaters who may be on the bottom end of the games that we play seem to be slowly disappearing from the league or not showing up as much, which is really disappointing to see because they are really amazing people, and watching them sort of fade out slowly shows to me that like they don't feel like they're being invested in.
After the seeding game, we held a league meeting. At this league meeting, recreational and competitive play discussions came to a head, and we realized we needed to make some hard decisions. That's in the next episode. Bye.